I'm Kelsey Harris. I'm 31 years old. And last week, I walked into a family legal meeting at my grandfather's large home in the suburbs of Atlanta, expecting paperwork about the estate. Instead, I stepped into a room packed with about 50 relatives. The silence was suffocating. No smiles, no greetings, just heavy stares. My grandfather Arthur sat at the head of the long table, hand resting on his cane-faced stern as he watched everyone. My father Scott pushed a thick folder across toward me, voice ice cold. "This is the proof. We want everything back." Before I could even process the words, my brother Logan snatched my phone and wallet right out of my hands. Not one person moved. Not one voice spoke up. Then a stranger in the back row stood up. He started clapping slowly, deliberately, his eyes locked straight on me. Before I continue, if this story already has you hooked, or you've ever been blindsided by the people who were supposed to have your back, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single one. 3 weeks earlier, my phone lit up with Logan's name while I was buried in trust documents at the office. I hesitated before answering. Logan only calls when he needs something or when he's hyped about his latest scheme. This time, his voice came through loud and fast. "Hey sis, big news, Grandpa Arthur and Dad are calling a family meeting about the estate. It's gonna be at Grandpa's place in the suburbs. Everyone's invited, cousins, aunts, the lawyer. 3 weeks from now." I set down my pen. A meeting about the estate. Grandpa never said a word to me. "Yeah, Dad told me. Grandpa wants everything sorted out properly. He even had Dad ask you for your birth certificate again last month." "For the records," Dad said. "Grandpa's getting things documented before it's too late." The knot in my stomach tightened. The birth certificate. Mom had always claimed the original was lost in a flood years ago. I'd sent a certified copy when Dad asked before. Why drag it up again? "Anyway," Logan went on, "it's supposed to be important. Dad said it's time to clear things up. Don't act like I told you. Act surprised if they bring it up early. Gotta run livestream in 5. He hung up. I stared at the screen, the client file forgotten. A milestone meeting. Clearing things up. After years of being the one who never asked for anything, it sounded almost thoughtful. But Logan's excitement didn't feel right. It felt like he was waiting for fireworks, not family business. I thought about the money. For 8 going on 9 years, I'd been sending home every month tens of thousands total, quiet transfers, no fanfare. When Logan's streaming rig broke, Mom wired him the cash for a new one without blinking. When his crypto investment tanked, Dad covered the loss. Me. When my car died 3 years ago, I took out a loan and worked overtime. "You're strong, Kelsey," Dad said. "You always figure it out." I did. I always did. But this meeting, Grandpa wanting the birth certificate again, Dad pushing for documentation, it didn't add up to celebration. It felt like preparation for something else. I closed the laptop and leaned back. 3 weeks. I'd show up. I'd listen. And whatever they wanted to clear up, I'd face it head on. After that call, I spent the whole week mentally preparing. I laid out my clothes on the bed, a simple navy blazer and slacks, professional, understated, nothing flashy. I wanted to look like someone who belonged in a room full of family business, not like I was trying too hard. I folded the papers I'd need: recent pay stubs, my employee ID, the recommendation form my manager had given me for the promotion. The firm was considering me for lead paralegal on the estate planning team. One strong reference from someone with connections could seal it. Dad had those connections once. I hoped this meeting might remind him, but the more I thought about it, the more the past crept in. Growing up, it was never about money with me. It was about attention. Logan could skip homework for days stream until 3 a.m. and still get Mom's proud smile when he showed off a new high score. "He's finding his passion," she'd say. When I brought home straight A's, Dad would nod once and change the subject. When I won a school award, Mom put Logan's participation ribbon on the fridge instead. I learned early that effort didn't earn praise, it just made me invisible. I tried harder. I studied longer. I volunteered. I thought if I was good enough, quiet enough, useful enough, they'd finally see me. They never did. One memory still stung. I was 12. I'd spent weeks on a Mother's Day card, hand-drawn flowers, a poem inside. I gave it to Mom with both hands. She glanced at it, said, "That's nice, honey," and set it aside. Later, I saw Logan's stick figure drawing tape to the fridge. "Look how creative your brother is," she said. My card went into a drawer. I found it years later, still folded, never framed. I stopped making things for them after that. I stopped expecting anything back. The birth certificate story never sat right either. Mom always said the original was destroyed in a flood back when I was little. Everything got ruined. She'd sigh. But I looked it up once, County Records' old news archives. There was no major flood in our area that year. No water damage reported. Just a convenient excuse. I opened my laptop and searched again just to be sure. Nothing. The knot in my chest grew tighter. Why lie about something so basic? Why did it feel like I was the only one who didn't have proof of belonging? I closed the tab and stood up. The promotion was real. My manager had pulled me aside last week. "You've earned this, Kelsey. A letter from your father would carry weight. He used to know people on the board." I'd asked Dad. He said yes, almost too quickly. "I'll bring it to the meeting. Make it a family moment." Family moment. The words felt hollow. Grandpa Arthur came to mind. He was the one person who never seemed to play favorites. When I was small, he'd sit me on his knee and tell stories about the old house, about how hard work built everything we had. He never praised Logan more or less. He just listened. Maybe he was the only fair one left. Maybe this meeting would finally show me where I stood. I zipped up my portfolio case and looked at myself in the mirror. 31 years of trying to earn a place. 3 more weeks and I'd walk into that house knowing the truth, whatever it was. I just hoped it wouldn't break me. The day finally arrived. I drove to Grandpa's house in the Atlanta suburbs. The driveway was already lined with cars, cousins' SUVs, aunt's sedans, a few I didn't recognize. I parked at the end and walked up the stone path, heart pounding harder with each step. The front door was open, voices murmuring inside. I stepped through the foyer and followed the hallway to the large study at the back. The room was exactly as I remembered: long oak table leather chairs, shelves of old law books and family photos. But today, it felt different. Packed. About 50 relatives filled the space, some standing, some seated, all turning to look at me as I entered. No smiles, no hellos, just silence and stares. Grandpa Arthur sat at the head of the table, cane resting against his chair, face unreadable. He gave a small nod when our eyes met, barely noticeable, but said nothing. Lawyer Thomas Blackwell sat to his right, briefcase open, pen in hand, expression neutral. Dad Scott stood up as I reached the table. He didn't greet me. He just picked up a thick folder and slid it across the polished wood toward me. "This is the proof," he said, voice flat and final. "DNA results. You're not our biological daughter." The room seemed to shrink. Whispers rippled through the relatives, but no one spoke out loud. I stared at the folder, the words blurring for a second. Dad opened it himself, pulling out the top page, a lab report stamped and signed. "We had tests done 3 months ago," he continued. "Conclusive. You were adopted. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. Now we want it back, all the costs. Or you sign away any claim to the estate, the trust fund, everything Grandpa built." I felt the air leave my lungs. "What are you talking about?" He tapped the folder. "Itemized? Food, housing, education. Close to $450,000 over the years. You owe it. or we walk away from any inheritance discussion. And if you refuse—" He paused, eyes narrowing. "I still know people at your firm. One call and that promotion you've been chasing gone." The threat landed like a slap. My manager had mentioned the board connections Dad used to have. He could make that call. He would. This wasn't a family meeting about the estate. This was an ambush, legal calculated, disguised as procedure. The lawyer, Thomas Blackwell, didn't interrupt. He just noted something on his pad, eyes down. I looked around the room. Aunts who used to hug me at holidays now avoided my gaze. Cousins shifted uncomfortably, but stayed silent. Grandpa Arthur's hand tightened on his cane. His knuckles went white. He stared at the table, eyes fixed on a knot in the wood, mouth set in a thin line. He didn't speak. He didn't defend me. He just sat there, grip tightening, until the cane creaked. Dad leaned forward. "Sign the waiver today, in front of everyone. Or we go to court. Witnesses are here. The numbers are documented." The folder lay between us like a guillotine. I didn't touch it. My hands stayed at my sides, fingers curling into fists. This was the moment they had planned. Not recognition, not fairness, just erasure. The atmosphere in the room grew heavier by the second. Mom pointed straight at me, her fingers sharp as a blade. "Take her stuff. See what she's hiding." Logan didn't hesitate. He lunged forward and snatched the wallet and phone from my hands in one swift motion, his smirk wide and ugly. "Let me see what you've got hidden in here, sis." He flipped the phone over, thumb already swiping the screen to unlock it. He knew my passcode from years of borrowing it without asking. The red recording light blinked on immediately. "Family drama peak level, guys," he said into the camera, voice low and excited like he was narrating a show. "Smash like and share, this is absolute gold. Chat's gonna explode." The livestream feed started rolling. I could see the viewer count jump in real time, dozens, then 100, then more. Comments scrolled fast. "WTF is this? Parents are savage. Girl, run. This can't be real." I reached for my phone out of instinct, but Logan stepped back, holding it high above his head. "Chill, Kelsey, just documenting the truth. Everyone deserves to see this." No one moved to stop him. Not a single relative stood up. Aunts who used to send me holiday cards now stared at the floor or their laps. Cousins shifted uncomfortably, phones already out, quietly recording their own versions. One of them even angled the camera to catch my face better. The silence wasn't shock, it was approval. They were letting this happen. Thomas Blackwell, the lawyer, sat motionless. He didn't object. He didn't even look up from his notepad. He just picked up his pen and jotted something down, short, quick strokes, then set the pen aside. His expression stayed blank. He was hired by Dad. His job wasn't to protect fairness, it was to witness whatever Dad wanted witnessed. I stood there, hands suddenly empty, heart slamming so hard I could feel it in my throat. The room felt smaller, walls pressing in. 50 pairs of eyes locked on me, and not one showed sympathy. Just judgment. Pity mixed with relief that it wasn't their turn under the spotlight. Mom crossed her arms, stepping closer. "You think you deserve a piece of this family? After everything we've done, everything we've sacrificed." Logan laughed low, turning the camera back on my face. "Say hi to the followers. They're loving this. Look at her face. Pure panic." My throat tightened. I wanted to shout, to grab the phone and smash it, to run out the door and never look back. But I stayed rooted. I'd spent years keeping calm under pressure, dealing with difficult clients, tight deadlines, nights when I questioned everything. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. Grandpa Arthur coughed suddenly, a short, ragged sound that cut through the murmurs. His face had gone pale, almost gray. His grip on the cane turned white-knuckled, veins bulging against the thin skin of his hands. He stared at the table, jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitch. When Logan said inheritance again, Grandpa's shoulders jerked slightly. He looked like he wanted to stand to speak, but the words wouldn't come. His eyes flicked to Dad, then to me, then back down to the wood grain. Shock. Not anger. Just raw, quiet, helpless shock. Dad stepped forward, voice rising. Sign the waiver, right now, in front of witnesses, or we take this further. The folder still sat untouched on the table. My wallet lay open on the floor where Logan had dropped it, cards scattered, a few bills peeking out. Logan kept filming, narrating softly for his audience. Look at that reaction. Chat's exploding. Someone said, toxic parents, y'all are ruthless tonight. I looked at Mom. You really think this is right? She met my eyes for the first time since I walked in. No warmth. Just cold, practiced resolve. We gave you a life. Time to pay it back. The live stream count hit 600. Comments flew faster. This is abuse. Call the cops. Girl, get out of there. Parents are unhinged. I swallowed hard. My pulse thundered in my ears. I was alone in a room full of family, and they were all watching me unravel. But I didn't unravel. I lifted my chin, voice steady even though my hands shook. I'm not signing anything. Logan's grin faltered for half a second. Mom's eyes narrowed to slits. Grandpa's cough came again, quieter this time, almost choked. He gripped the cane harder, knuckles cracking against the wood. The room waited. And in that silence, I felt something shift inside me, not breaking but hardening. I looked around the room, searching for one sympathetic glance. None came. Logan kept the phone trained on me, his voice dropping to that fake concerned tone he used on stream. Guys, she's not even denying it. This is next level. Drop your thoughts in chat. Should she sign or fight? Mom let out a short, bitter laugh. You think you deserve a piece of the inheritance? After everything? I forced my voice steady. If the DNA says I'm not yours, then whose money paid for my life? How did you calculate those costs exactly? Receipts? Bank statements? Or just a number that sounds big enough to scare me? Dad's face tightened, but he didn't answer. Logan zoomed in closer. Ooh, she's getting defensive. Classic. The comments must have been flooding in. I could see the notification bar lighting up on the screen. Logan glanced at it and grinned wider. Chat says you're ungrateful. Keep talking, sis. I turned to the lawyer. Mr. Blackwell, is this even legal? Demanding repayment for raising a child you adopted. Thomas Blackwell looked up briefly, then back at his notes. This is a private family matter. I'm here to witness any agreements. No help there. I opened my mouth to push harder, question the timeline, the adoption papers, anything, when slow clapping started from the back. One pair of hands, deliberate, rhythmic. A man stood up. Tall, silver-haired suit, crisp but understated. He clapped 3 more times, then stopped. The room fell dead quiet. He walked forward, steps measured, until he stood between me and the table. I'm Derek Lane, he said, voice calm but carrying across the entire room. I was invited by Mr. Blackwell as a witness for the trust fund. Grandpa Arthur's head snapped up. His eyes widened. He leaned forward slightly, mouth parting. Him. How is he here? He whispered, barely audible, but I caught it. Surprise, yes, but not complete shock. Like he'd feared this moment might come. Derek didn't look at Grandpa. His eyes stayed on me. I've waited a long time for this, he said. The trust fund was set up 31 years ago. Monthly payments. Everyone documented. The Pattersons, your adoptive family, received them to raise you. The agreement was clear silence until you turned 31. Mom sucked in a breath. Dad's face drained of color. Logan lowered the phone slightly, eyes darting between Derek and the camera. Wait. What? Derek reached into his jacket and pulled out a slim folder of his own. Copies of wire transfers, bank records, the original trust documents, all signed by Scott and Nancy Harris. He placed the folder on the table gently like it weighed nothing. Grandpa Arthur stared at it. His hand trembled on the cane. He opened his mouth, closed it, then whispered again, We had an agreement. Derek finally looked at him. Yes, we did. But the agreement ended today, and the truth doesn't end with it. I stared at the folder. 31 years. My entire life. Mom recovered first. This is ridiculous. You're a stranger. You have no right. Derek cut her off, still calm. I have every right. I'm her father. The room erupted in murmurs. Phones came out again. Logan lifted his camera higher, voice shaky. Holy. Chat, this just got insane. Grandpa Arthur's face had gone ashen. He gripped the cane so hard I thought it might snap. His eyes moved from Derek to me, then back. He didn't speak. He just sat there, breathing shallow like the air had been sucked out of him. I felt the ground shift under me. Not collapse, just shift. The slow clapping echoed and the room fell completely silent. Derek Lane stood in the center folder, in hand, eyes steady on me. I am your biological father, he said. The words dropped like stones into still water. Ripples of gasps spread through the relatives. Phones were raised again, but no one spoke. Derek opened the folder and laid out the first set of papers. These are wire transfer records, monthly payments to Scott and Nancy Harris for 28 years, continuing into the 29th. $1,200 to $1,500 each time. The total exceeds the amount you're demanding today. Dad's face went white. Mom gripped the edge of the table. Derek continued, voice even. The trust was established 31 years ago when Angela, your mother, passed away. Cancer. She fought for 2 years. Before she died, she made sure you would be taken care of. The Harrises agreed to raise you in exchange for the funds. The condition, they kept silent until you turned 31. He placed another document on top. This is the original agreement, signed by all parties, including Arthur. Grandpa Arthur's head jerked up. His lips parted, but no sound came out. Derek slid the next item forward, a single sheet of yellowed paper, handwriting elegant and familiar, even though I'd never seen it before. This is the letter Angela wrote for you. She asked me to give it when the time was right. I reached for it, fingers trembling. The ink was faded in places, but the words were clear. My dearest Kelsey, if you're reading this, I'm no longer with you. I'm sorry, baby girl. I'm so sorry I couldn't stay. You were never unwanted, never a burden. From the moment I knew you existed, you were my greatest joy. Your father, Derek, is a good man, the best I've ever known. I was too young and too scared to fight harder for us. That's my biggest regret. Please don't blame him for not being there. He wanted you. He always wanted you. Live with courage, my darling. Be kind, be strong. Know that wherever I am, I'm watching over you. I love you. I will always love you. Mom? Tears blurred the page. I pressed the letter to my chest. My breathing came in short bursts. Derek waited until I looked up again. I have DNA results, he said, placing the final paper down. A comparison between my sample and yours. Conclusive. Aunt Margaret stood up slowly from her seat near the back. Her hands shook. I kept some of the receipts, she said, voice cracking. Nancy asked me to burn them 20 years ago. I couldn't. I hid them. When she threatened to expose my own mistakes if I spoke, I stayed quiet. But I can't anymore. Mom's face twisted. Margaret. No. Aunt Margaret cut in. You took his money and treated her like she didn't belong. That's on you. Logan, still holding the phone, suddenly froze. Wait. Dad, there's an email here from the law firm. It says the agreement ends at age 31. That's today. Dad lunged for the phone, but Logan pulled it back. The live stream was still running. The chat must have gone wild. Grandpa Arthur finally spoke. His voice was thin, trembling. "Derek, we had an agreement." Derek looked at him. "We did. You were supposed to love her, not use her." Grandpa Arthur stared at the transfer records. His shoulders sagged. He bowed his head slowly, eyes closing. Regret etched every line on his face, not ignorance, but the pain of knowing he'd been part of the lie, even if only by silence. I wiped my eyes and looked at Derek. "Why hide it so long?" He softened. "Angela was dying. She was afraid her family would take you away if I fought too hard. She made me promise to wait, to trust the Harrises would do right. They didn't." The room was dead quiet now. Even Logan's phone lowered slightly. I met Derek's gaze. "I need time." Derek nodded once. "I've waited 31 years. I'll wait longer if you need me to." He stepped back. No one moved. The folder lay open on the table. The letter stayed in my hand. I stood up, saying nothing more. I walked out of Grandpa's house without looking back. The door closed behind me with a soft click that felt final. In the car, I pulled out my phone, Logan's live stream still open on the screen. I swiped it away and opened my contacts. One by one, I blocked them. Scott, Nancy, Logan. Their numbers disappeared. Then social media, Instagram, Facebook, everything. No goodbye messages, no explanations, just silence. My phone rang almost immediately. Grandpa Arthur's name appeared. I let it ring twice before answering. "Kelsey, granddaughter." His voice cracked thin and trembling. I was wrong. I should have. I listened for half a second longer. Then I ended the call and blocked him too. Not out of anger, just self-preservation. The drive home was quiet. No tears. Just the hum of the road and the weight lifting off my chest with every mile. The fallout came fast. Scott and Nancy filed for divorce within weeks. Public records showed it was contentious disputes over finances, hidden accounts, the trust fund money they'd spent without telling each other. The house in the suburbs was sold. They went their separate ways. No joint statements, no apologies. Logan tried to spin the live stream as raw family content, but the backlash was immediate. Brands pulled sponsorships. Followers dropped by the tens of thousands in days. Comments flooded in, exploiting your sister for clout. Disgusting. This is why people hate influencers. He deleted the video, then the account. Last I heard, he was starting over on a new platform posting mindfulness content. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. I didn't check on them after that. I didn't need to. A few weeks later, I opened my email and typed a short message to Derek Lane. We met at a small coffee shop in Atlanta. Not fancy, just mismatched chairs, good espresso, quiet corners. He was already there when I arrived, standing up when he saw me. We sat, talked about Angela. He showed me photos. I'd never seen her laughing in a park holding me as a baby. He told me stories, how they met, how she fought the illness, how she made him promise to wait. I listened. I asked questions. I cried once.